Before committing the murder, he deliberately called the sheriff to taunt him, claiming he was about to kill again. In reality, his target was the sheriff himself, yet just as he prepared to pull the trigger, he noticed two women approaching the sheriff. One of them raised her hand and patted the sheriff on the shoulder. This gesture caught the killer's attention. He surmised the woman might be the sheriff's wife and tentatively made a remark.
You have a very pretty wife.
The sheriff's reaction confirmed the killer's hunch. Before he could reach his wife, the assassin fired a bullet that pierced her body. Chaos erupted instantly. This was the killer's retaliation for the sheriff repeatedly thwarting his plans. But what tormented the sheriff even more was that his wife had intended to tell him she was pregnant tonight. Now it was all too late. She died in his arms, a devastating blow. Yet the torment continued. On the day of her burial, the killer returned, this time lurking in a car by the roadside, observing from afar. He even sketched a portrait of the sheriff, relishing the process. Torturing his enemies was his signature style. After the funeral concluded, the sheriff began gathering his gear. No, he wouldn't stand idly by after watching his beloved die before his eyes. He had to kill the murderer himself. It was his duty as a husband. Meanwhile, the killer was preparing to hunt his next target. Completely unaware he'd already been marked for elimination by the sheriff. Back at the station, while analyzing the sketch the killer had left at the crime scene, the sheriff unexpectedly discovered the next victim's identity hidden within it. The investigators sprang into action immediately, racing toward the location of the killer's next target. This time, the killer's mark was the director of the local city planning bureau. The sheriff swiftly reported the situation to his superiors, requesting armed backup. By then, the killer had already appeared near the target. He retrieved a rectangular box from his trunk, clearly containing weapons. Soon, a large contingent of armed forces arrived at the entrance of the federal courthouse where the director was due to appear. It was no exaggeration to say they had sealed off nearly every surrounding block. Not even a fly could slip through, let alone the killer. Everyone assumed the assassin would abandon the mission, but unexpectedly, he appeared in a place no one had anticipated. He produced specialized tools, accessed the train's control system, inserted a decoder, and began hacking the train's control protocols. Passengers nearby noticed his unusual actions and urgently warned him to stop. In the next instant, however, the assassin drew his weapon and pulled the trigger without hesitation. The chubby kid was terrified, begging for mercy, but the killer shattered his knees anyway. Then he pulled a locking bar from his bag, wedged it between the train door's two handles, and activated the hacked program. The train doors opened automatically. Simultaneously, the Target Bureau Chief's motorcade arrived at the courthouse entrance. The assassin opened his case, revealing a rocket launcher inside. He swiftly loaded ammunition, secured the weapon with the crossbar to stabilize it, and waited for the train to draw near. The moment it approached, he fired decisively. The massive napalm fire engulfed everything around it, consuming the target director along with the explosion. The assassin